So street signs, which is 1.07, we went out to go find some street signs around our local area, and we found 5. The first one would be a speed limit sign, and the purpose of radar speed signs is to slow cars down and make drivers aware that they are driving at speeds higher than the permitted speed. And those would be the ones that blink your speed really fast. A regular street sign for speed is something like 40 miles an hour here on that road. And that makes drivers aware that that is the legal limit for how fast to go on that road. Next, we would have a do not enter sign. And the do not enter sign tells you that there is a danger and you should not enter that way. You would be going against traffic, and they prevent drivers from entering a one-way street or a ramp against traffic. Next are 2 yield signs. One has a yield to pedestrians and one is just a plain yield sign. Yield signs are usually red and white with red letters, and they call the driver to do slow down, defer to oncoming or intersecting traffic, to stop when necessary, and then proceed when it is safe for you. This includes stopping for pedestrians crossing the road, bikers, and then for you to proceed when it is safe to do so. A flashing yellow light also means the same as a yield sign. Proceed when safe, when it is safe for you, and to also remain aware of vehicles that are coming towards you. Connecting to this, next we have a left turn yield, which shows a flashing arrow pointing to the left, which then means that you should proceed when it is safe, turn left when it is safe to do so. You aren't necessarily stopping and waiting for the light to turn. It just means that when the oncoming traffic opposite of you is, when there's a big enough gap, you can proceed to the left. Last but not least, we have the stop sign. As the sign does say, a stop sign is designated to notify drivers that they must come to a complete stop before continuing to drive, which means when you have reached the stop sign and you've put the brake on and to know when you are fully stopped, you should feel that pull, that push against you into the seat to realize that the momentum has stopped you from going forward. And those would be 5 street signs that I have noticed around my local area. Your mirrors, which is number 1.08. For your left mirror, you're going to put your face on the side of your window and look at the side of your car. And obviously you do not want to look, so you're going to move your mirror so that you can see just the very, very side of your car or right next to it. And then to do your middle mirror, you're going to put your face in the very center of the dashboard. Oh, I'm sorry. To do your center mirror, you're going to line up the mirror with your back window so that you can see clearly. And then to do your right mirror, you're going to put your face in the center and look at your right mirror and adjust it accordingly from there so that you can see the very side of the car just very slightly. Stop or pause. This is going to be kind of a bird's eye view, not a bird's eye view, but like a point of view from me. So this would be your face against the very side of the car, and you're just going to, you see how you can barely see the side of the car, and you're just kind of going to adjust accordingly. And then for the center, you can see very clearly outside of that back window, and then here you are in the middle of the car, and you're gonna look over there, and if you can see the very side of the car right there. So, yeah. So next we're going to be talking about gauges on a dashboard, and that is number 1.09. There is a minimum amount of gauges that all cars have, and that would be the speedometer and the fuel gauge. The speedometer is a speed reading that is used with an electric sensor to measure wheel speed, and that sends a signal to the car, to that little dashboard, to show you how fast you're going miles per hour. The next is a fuel gauge, and usually shows how many gallons are left in the reserve. Next would be a temperature gauge, which measures the engine coolant. It's very important to monitor the temperature gauge to make sure your engine is not overheating, and if it is, you want to safely pull off the road and turn the engine off and let it cool down. So next would be the oil pressure gauge, and most cars have a light that tells you when the oil pressure is low. If the light comes on while you're driving, you want to stop the vehicle as soon as it's safe and shut off the engine. Then check the oil level and add oil as necessary. So next would be there are two types of brakes. There are anti-lock brakes or regular brakes. Anti-lock brakes are also known as ABS. If your brakes go out, you want to shift to a lower gear. If you have regular brakes, you should pump the brake pedal really fast and build up brake fluid pressure. After you put it into a low gear, you want to steer into a safe direction until the car completely rolls to a stop. Also, apply the parking brake and be prepared for any. When approaching a roundabout, which is number 2.110, you are going to want to watch what's happening in the roundabout. You're going to yield to the traffic that is in the roundabout or that is coming from the left. And then you're in the roundabout, it's courteous to turn on your turn signal when you're going to leave, but it is not required. When you're in the roundabout, you're going to want to be cautious of others who fail to yield to those who are in the roundabout, including yourself. But you do not want to stop when you are in it for other cars to let them in. And when exiting, as we said before, it is not required that you put on your turn signal, but it is a really nice courtesy to provide your best communication to other cars to let them know when you are leaving the roundabout. So this is pretty much going to show me going around the roundabout. We're just going to kind of make a U-turn in the roundabout. So first we're going to yield to any cars that are in the roundabout. We're going to look left, and since there are no cars coming, we are going to complete our turn. Now as we're turning around, we're going to make sure, see that gray car that pops out, that we do not run into it, and we exit it. Go. So for parallel parking, which is 2.02, we're going to approach this vehicle. We're going to put on our turn signal, and we are going to try and be 18 inches away from the car so we do not hit it. And luckily this car is stationary, and we're going to line our mirrors up right next to the car so we're completely parallel, so you can pretty much go a little further. So now I'm going to put my car in reverse and back up so my body is aligned with the tire of the car or the end of the back door. Switching gears, and we are going to slowly back up so that my body is aligned with that car. Okay, stop. So the next step is I am going to turn my wheel all the way, and I am going to back up in a 45-degree angle with the curb. I'm also going to remember to have my hand on the back of the passenger seat and be watching my surroundings as I'm making this backing maneuver. And we're just going to slowly make our way, watching our surroundings and making that 45-degree angle. Making sure we're not going a little too far. And that is the curve. Alright, so the next step is we're going to turn our wheel the complete opposite direction all the way, and we're just going to slowly straighten ourselves out in the spot, aligning ourselves parallel to the curb now. And we're just going to go that, we're going to move slowly until we're completely parallel with the curb, which should be right about here. Right there. Okay, and so the final step is we're gonna turn our wheel, usually about 2 full turns. That's what I figured straightens the wheel. And we are going to put the car in drive, and we are going to move forward about, usually about like a foot, 2 feet away from the car in front of us. And that should be right there. And we're gonna put our car in park and put the parking brake and turn the engine off. Now that I'm out of the car, as you can see, I have made it. And in order to respect this car's privacy, we didn't go too close, usually you'd be a little closer, but there is this trailer hitch in the way, so you always want to be wary of that. But yes, so using those 3 steps, I have officially parallel parked with this car behind this vehicle. Today we're going to be talking about 116, and that would be reference points. So and reference points help you find the best lane position for your car, going either around turns or in closed zones or open zones to prevent your safety and others. So the first lane position would be 1. So lane position 1 is in the direct center of every lane. And so since I can't exactly do this on a regular road, we're just going to be using this curb, which we're parked in the very center of this, like off the side road. So to help figure out if you are in the best, if you're in lane position 1, you're going to look towards the right of your dashboard, and you should be from the center of the dashboard and in the halfway mark between this corner and the center. So as I like to think of it, it would be the 3/4 part of your dashboard from the left side. To figure out, and you want to line up that center with the yellow line, or sorry, the white line. And to figure out lane position 2, which is 3 inches away from, this would be a yellow line, but due to our circumstances, we are using this white line. You want to line up that little curb, usually, or 1 foot away from the left side with that yellow line. So obviously this car is not in lane position 2, it is in lane position 3. And for lane position 3, you are going to want to line up the middle of the hood with the white line on this side to be 3 inches away from the white line.